Sorry.
Man, we are white as fuck.
Yeah. Also, the only part of my facial hair that's detectable is my mustache.
It looks like you have a pedo stash.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't we just say porn stash? Why do we have to make me a pedophile?
I'm sorry. Porn stash.
Oh yeah, welcome to the first word. You need to find somewhere to sit down.
I will hold him.
Okay.
Just don't squeeze him.
This makes me happy.
I can see that. Well, we're just gonna be silent. Welcome to the first word.
Oh man.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
So, let's see. We've actually got a few things to hit this week. There's the RVB finale, which next week we'll discuss like the full season and kind of get into a full-on review of that. Okay. But we'll like to touch on the finale today. Mm-hmm. But and then there's
touches.
Yeah, finale touches, and then there's the Camp premiere. But then there's also Sugar Pine that I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
So, where would you guys like to start?
I would like to start with Sugar Pine so we don't end super heavy.
That's fair enough.
Do you want to talk about this last video?
Well, yeah, there's still one more to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you watch the last podcast?
No, I didn't watch the We Got Fired podcast. I just saw the last, Sugar Pine proper video.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it called We Got Fired, or did they get fired?
Yeah.
We no longer work at Rooster Teeth.
Right.
I think was
Yeah.
the name of the
Right.
video.
Yeah.
Which they kind of do. Like they're still partnered with them, and so like they're still like doing their ads through them and like merch and stuff like that, but they're not.
That's like a contractual thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not employed anymore.
Right.
Like they don't work at the office. They don't get a check. Pause. Falco. Bastard. Go.
Are we doing a fandom next week?
Huh?
Are we doing a fandom next week?
We're not going to be here.
Yeah, we're not. That's why I asked.
So they might. It just means next episode, or we might do one at a different point in the week.
Oh,
Yeah.
we said. Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, they're partnered. They're just not employed anymore. I don't know. It's weird to process, like, cause I've seen it happen before, like with Cracked, SourceFed. There have been others that a similar thing has happened to. But there's this weird thing with Sugar Pine where like in their making everything meta and a bit, it almost feels like more of the parasocial bond kind of comes through, because like it's like when you're playing a caricature of yourself, you kind of have to show the flawed parts too to have something to riff on. And there are moments of like genuine, especially on the podcast, there are moments of like genuine humanity. So it's not just a level of like, oh, it sucks that like my favorite YouTubers aren't making content anymore or right now or whatever, but also like,
Kind of feels like your friends are gone now.
yeah, it feels like and also like that they're, especially like with Steve, like going through some real hard shit. This is just like the, the manifestation of life falling apart around him and everything. But like, it's on a much bigger scale, but I can totally relate to that feeling whenever Fox's ended last year. You know, of like this thing I did didn't work, and I put all of myself into this, and I've already extended myself in this thing past a healthy point, or past a point where I even enjoy it anymore. I'm just doing it because it's what I do, and I don't know how to stop. And if I do stop, I'm afraid I'm going to come to a dead stop, and then it's just pulled out from under you. Like, that's scary and like really isolating.
Yeah, like Steven said, he wanted to quit a little bit before this all happened. Now, the most heart-wrenching part of it to me is just the fact that he had to tell Kib and James that they kind of essentially were they failed in a way. I mean, it's I struggle to actually affirm that it's a failure, because it's like they were given a false opportunity. It's really more what it was. Like, they bit the baited hook, and it drugged them a little bit out of the water, but ended up just making them fall back into it. Which they're not done.
No, there's, on the content side, there's going to be one last episode, at least to end this season, and then just an indefinite hiatus, and still podcasts and more music eventually and stuff.
Good.
But nope, like, on the side of like who went wrong or whatever, I don't want to blame Rooster Teeth, but I do have like an issue with, why did you stick to such a YouTube-based model for Sugar Pine 7? Like, that was the problem. Originally, like, they won Show of the Year, they were huge, but nothing stays on top of the algorithm forever. And
especially something like that.
Yeah, where it requires like prior knowledge and being like up to date with it. Like,
it's a narrative. It's
like, I love Sugar Pine 7. It's probably my favorite thing out of like the whole Rooster Teeth ensemble thing. But even I like can get intimidated and wanting to go back and watch earlier seasons, like, and wanting to watch through it again, because there's just so much of it. Someone like coming into it, like,
yeah, I felt that too. It's pretty daunting. Like, sometimes I skip the podcast and stuff just because it's.
Oh, I'm strictly talking about alternative lifestyle. I'm not even talking about I'm not even talking about the podcasts or the sketch shows or anything.
See, I'm still not even caught up from where I started it like 9 months ago.
Yeah, like
so much
in this season, because they went through a streak of like doing one a day for like 4 months. There are like over almost 200 episodes in this season alone.
Wow.
Like 180 something if I remember right. And there's a shit ton in 3, I think, is a little bit less, because that's when they were also doing Lifestyle Classic, and that was the most strictly narrative one. But still, there's just so many episodes to go through, and I feel like, and I know they tried, and you know, it's always like hindsight is Bernie 2020, but but I feel like they could have pushed them more on the first audience, which I feel like we accept. Like, we don't have to have things every single day from somebody. Like, we're okay with, like 12 episodes of RWBY or 6 episodes of Day 5 or whatever a year. That makes sense. Like, you work hard on this thing. It takes time to make a well-produced product. And maybe more often than that, maybe they keep it going year-round, but you can at least maintain it more on a weekly schedule than you could on that day-to-day grind.
Yeah, I always thought Sugar Pine would have benefited somewhat from pumping the brakes, because they just got in this path of improvising so consistently and being so consistently funny that it was possible for them to put out so much content on a daily basis, and it'd all be passable and good and everything. But on the first platform, they would have benefited from hitting the brakes a little bit, and it would have probably helped their monetization if they could, like, push the fact that we're going to come out on this day, this every week.
Yeah.
Because if they wanted to push the narrative thing, then that's I think is a good model for it.
Mm-hmm. And a couple things Steve said in both the last video and the podcast really, really hit home for me. One was because Kib's already got a job. He's managing somebody's YouTube channel. I forget who it was. Nobody I recognized. And James is applying for jobs, and Steve's working on a script and an animation he's been like talking about and working on for a couple years. But Steve was just like, I think I just have to accept that I can't really work for somebody. Like, when I give my thing that I'm passionate about and I've like put myself into and give it to somebody else, then I lose all of my like drive and ambition towards it. It's not mine anymore, and like it doesn't like mean as much to me. And I kind of get that. Like, I'm very, very selfish about my projects and about the things that I work on. And like the idea of like signing to some like small label that might help us or something just has always put a bad taste in my mouth. To like not have control over my work has always been like, and I really, really feel him on that. I'm blanking on the other thing, probably because my mind super relates to it, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Oh yeah, and there is a hashtag going around on Twitter, hashtag what SB7 means. And like, if you've watched Sugar Pine 7, then show your support, because the boys are going through a hard time. If not, at least watch season 1. Like, that is pretty agreeably like the strongest season out of all of them. I love them all for different reasons, but you should at least watch season 1 and see if you like it. And definitely check out the songs. And
Oh, absolutely.
There's a bit where we're listening to them on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's like any
Every
good pop
morning.
song. Eventually, it'll just cycle back into your
Yeah.
head and just catch the fuck out of you. So all of their tracks are ones that when I'm waiting tables and stuff, they just play on a loop in my head.
I imagine
That keeps me
Uncultured
going.
specifically as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have thought in my head, why'd you order red wine? You're eating fish, bitch. Oh man.
which one's your favorite?
Your favorite member?
No,
No, song.
Song.
Oh,
I mean,
it's these
if
drugs
you
for me.
what?
It's these drugs for me.
I was gonna say that or Uncultured, because Uncultured plays through my head so much, but that one's like, I feel like the best out of all of them.
Oh yeah, drugs definitely.
My type really gets caught with me too.
Oh yeah, like that's just a really good track. Like, These Drugs was a really good song. But besides Just a Couple Friends, it's one of the more mellow songs as far as like the production
Yeah,
goes.
it's a lot. Yeah,
Like,
it's
it's
a
not
lot
as,
less
like-
going on.
Yeah.
But my type has so much production into it.
So the songs, I don't know if it goes all the way back to Just a Couple Friends, but the songs and the videos were part of the like trying to revitalize the channel campaign, because they like Rooster Teeth was already like, hey, you guys are tanking, like we need to do something to bring views back up, and the songs were actually part of that. So credit to Rooster Teeth for like not just being like, hey, you guys didn't work out, throw them out, but also like not only did they help them, but they get the channel, or Steven gets the channel back in a year, and he'll get like full rights back to the channel based on what some things that were like said in the podcast about like he can't, like, because he was talking about deleting everything after season 1, and James was like, well, you can't for a year, and then Steven was like, well, after a year I'm going to do that and change the password. And you're like, but what if I have to upload something? Steve was like, it's my channel. Oh, and this is like the last kind of point that I think I have on it, and the other thing that like I super related to Steve on was he talked about how, I don't know how to start this sentence. Hating everything outside of his comfort zone feeling like a chore. And I fucking feel that so hard. Like everything outside of the practice space or the back office, like he talked about, like, you know, it was the old office for a while, and like staying there till 2-3 o'clock in the morning editing videos, and now it's sitting here fucking playing on the computer or whatever. But it's always just that space. The space moves, but always that space that's comfortable, and everything that takes you out of that space feels like work and feels like a chore and not something that you have to force yourself into doing. Mm-hmm. And I relate to that boy so hard on that. Yeah, on a human level, like who I feel like I would relate to the most, I'd say probably definitely Steve. I feel like James would probably be one more fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
But Steve definitely, as far as like relating wise. But my favorite member, gotta say Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jamie's great.
I love Jamie. Humble brag, I've actually had some on like one-on-one interactions with Jamie on Twitter and Reddit, and he's always just a fucking delight.
He's a real sweetheart.
Yeah. There's no bigger like humble brag for me than like talking guitars with a celebrity that I love, and yeah, got to do that with fucking Jamie on Reddit a couple months ago. So.
Oh, what was he saying?
There was, I think it was on a thread about one of the podcasts, and it was when they were still in the office, and he had a camera on him doing the like camera switching and everything, and there was an Epiphone 339, the scaled down semi-hollow,
yeah.
and a Stingray bass. Is that me? Did I do that to you?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. You good? And
she's allergic to Epiphones. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
And I asked him if the Epi was his, and asked him if the bass in My Type was the Stingray. Because
Right.
once I saw the Stingray, I was like, I can hear the sound. I can hear that like that active, like super woofy sound to it. And
Why is Steven playing a 6-string to the bass line in that video?
Right.
It infuriates me every single time. At first I thought it's like, are they doing like a pitch shifter on his
right,
like fucking
but there's
White Stripes used to do?
Yeah, but there's too much like actual
Right, it
low
sounds
there.
yeah.
And it sounds like a Stingray.
Right.
Like if you know that fucking sound, like Another One Bites the Dust, that kind of tone. And I asked Jamie if he would, and I don't know if the boys will be, like, at least that's still the plan. They'll be at RTX, but I don't know if Jamie and Mimi and Vicky will will still be there. I assume Autumn will be there if Inside Gaming is there. But and I asked him if he'd be at RTX, and if he was there, we should fucking hang out and do an acoustic jam of some Ocean City songs, because that was like whenever at the panel, and we're like, what's your favorite band or artist or whatever, and everyone was like, she was like Vampire Weekend, which is solid, and blah 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 blah. Kid was like some like white fucking pop rapper or something, and Jamie was like Motion City soundtrack. Like fuck yeah, like
That is really cool.
that fucking dude gets it. But yeah, hopefully there's more from Sugar Pine. But I do feel like a certain release when it comes to doing IGC, like the thing I've always kind of felt of like that's their territory and I don't want to encroach upon it. But now that that's like a done thing, and what Alternative Lifestyle is like has its borders and its boundaries, and so now it's like, because I do feel like it's the office of YouTube content, and being like very very meta, and like using that kind of vlog and something that's very specific to YouTube and making a narrative out of it. I do think that it has the potential to be very revolutionary, but that requires other people like taking up the mantle and like carrying it forward.
Right.
And so I feel a little
We
bit
have a
of
different tilt on it also.
yeah, and get a different tilt on it. Like, you know, maybe like Office to Parks and Rec, or maybe Office to Arrested Development. You know, like Office has a lot more emotional weight and content to it, but Arrested Development leans more into the humor that you can get out of that kind of single camera documentary style
Absolutely.
television show. Like, I can't think of any there's a few things, but they're all kind of played subversively. I can't think of any real moments in Arrested Development that like emotionally have any real weight to them.
The only ones I can think of are in this last season.
Interesting. See, I still haven't finished the last season,
Yeah, I think.
or the first half of this last season. I don't know if the second half has come out yet or not, because there were like 6 or 7 episodes, right? Yeah.
They finished it out.
Okay. Yeah. So I only watched like 3 or 4 episodes of this last season.
It's really sweet, honestly. It's pretty. It is. These last 2 seasons have kind of just accepted that enough time has passed that we kind of have to start up a new narrative and just not worry about
Right.
the previous stuff too much beyond references and like classic Arrested Development shit. But like the narrative path of this last season is really strong.
Speaking of giving up on these last couple of seasons, let's talk about some Red versus Blue.
No, I saw how big she was when you picked her up.
Right.
Like,
I
was
didn't grab her by the babies.
No. Just like when you picked her up, I was like, man, that is like, she's, yeah.
All right. Yeah, definitely.
She is.
You guys want a
fucking
kitten? Not this one. Like, I mean, if you do, let me know. But
One that
she's
comes out of
one that comes out of her. She's about the shit kits.
How long does it take for cats to have babies?
30 minutes?
Yeah, 30 minutes. About 90 days.
Okay.
Yeah. 30 minutes to 90 days, somewhere in there.
Man, I want one of those kittens so bad now.
But yeah,
Hi.
Red versus Blue. So I know where to fucking cut all that bullshit out for this thing.
You know, the title of this episode was so close to being, I can't even think about how to pronounce the word now, but the genealogy of gods.
Oh,
Like, it was just like one letter away from being that.
Wasn't that what it was?
No, it was missing an O.
Oh, what was the title of this one?
phrenology?
Yeah.
Yeah. Theogony.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the birth of gods,
yeah,
Oh, okay.
which makes a lot of sense.
right. So yeah. So is that like one of those? Is that like a always bound to happen kind of kind of paradox thing that like
Yeah, it's a closed loop.
Right, yeah.
Genkin's whole existence is like it's a deviation from the main timeline, but it is like like it needs to happen for the main timeline to exist.
right.
Time has made its circles.
Right.
Really though, do we want to start there with the whole Genkins of it?
I mean, you started us there, so.
I think there are more grand themes within the character arcs than there.
Oh, yeah.
Than there
Oh,
is-
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I am not gonna miss Genkins. I don't think.
No.
I don't
No,
think we're
why-
supposed
why
to.
would you?
I mean, some villains. I like O'Malley at first. I
Yeah.
mean,
Also, on O'Malley, I did call that
you did.
Call.
him coming back.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I like how he referenced like the fan approach to O'Malley v. Doc. It's just like anytime I'm not around. Yeah, Doc got some love in this episode, and that was nice.
It
Yeah.
was well deserved
Yeah.
because everything that he went through. He ended up actually being like standing in the middle of everyone at first, like a little like in front of people.
Yeah, he was the first one to
Yeah.
shown wielding the golf club there
It
at
was.
the last stand down.
He's gotten like so much shit from everyone in the show.
He has
deserved it.
some of the most right to have, disorders and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's understandable that he would make mistakes considering that like his head has been trying to split on him
Yeah.
for a long
Plus,
time now.
yeah.
But he found a way
When did
to.
he come in contact with O'Malley again? It was like
When did
early
when did he
on, right?
recreate O'Malley?
Yeah. Season 12. No, season 11 is when I think he got sucked into the fucking, what's it called? Future Cube. And he got stuck there until season 13. And that's where he was alone in a void, basically. And since he knew what it was like to have O'Malley in his head, it was easy for his mind to recreate that.
AIs are the catalyst for a lot of mental trickery.
Yeah.
I mean, especially within Red versus Blue.
You know, it's in the same way of like, if you go through trauma at a young, formative enough age, your imaginary friends will be the ones that take on personality because they already have somewhat of a reality in your head. Your mind can wrap itself around them. Side note, interesting thing I learned recently about like split personalities and stuff, but the mind and body react to different personalities differently.
Yeah.
Like that was like if one personality is say allergic to peanuts and another one isn't, then when that personality is like in control, the body will actually have physical reactions, but when it's not in control, it won't.
And like
That's
one
horrifying.
personality can
Yeah.
have like different tremors
Yeah.
than the other one. And it's like one could have something like Tourette's and the other one won't.
My psychology teacher was always really staunch on his belief that multiple personality disorder was not real. And I always found that to be like really reductionist and like why would all of these people I mean he used to cite these few cases of people who were actually faking
You're right.
Yeah.
and claimed that it did a lot to discredit all of what we're seeing as legitimate cases. But I just can't imagine what would
I mean, like,
and with that evidence, I mean,
Yeah.
And every fake in psychology does their own work to like discredit it. Like that's just a thing of life. But
Right.
like most fragmented personalities or split personalities, it's like this particular trauma that is making the mind fragment around. So like they have to segment it off. So like I guess like to an extent, it's like I'm trying to think of like how he would.
do you remember that Sally Field movie
No.
with basically she was playing this woman who it was based on a true story. She was abused by her mother and had all these different split personalities. She was a school teacher and like she ended up doing all this weird shit with the students because her mind was fragmenting. But like at one point later on when she's being treated, she appears as one of her split personalities, tells the psychiatrist that she was faking the whole thing as one of her personalities, and like tries to deny herself further treatment because she was faking. And that to me is just like that. My mind has many folds. So like I don't.
Right.
Where do you
like,
even go with that?
I know it hurts to think about stuff like that because
Yeah.
it kind of muddies the whole situation.
Right.
Yeah.
How many people that came forward and were like, oh, I was faking it the whole time, were
Right.
lying about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they could be refused treatment. See, and the thing is, like, when you treat multiple personality disorders, it's always unclear, or it depends on which approach you're trying to go through as to, like, how you're treating it. Because some people, they want to treat them to where, like, they all get muddied and come together as one person.
Mm-hmm.
And other people are like, well, we like this one better, so we're going to try and get that one to be the dominant one.
Right. And with Doc, he has the benefit of knowing that he is two separate identities. Or
Right.
has,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and his
Exposure.
power speech one was like, I own this body.
Yeah.
I am more than the both of us. Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
That was good.
I guess is what separates him from people who continue to struggle with that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, hope.
Some people are aware, they just enter fugue states.
Right, exactly. And in those states, they don't know who they are or what. So I guess when he was originally O'Malley,
Yeah.
he must have been in one of those fugues.
Do you think Doc could have been conscious enough, but in the background?
Yeah,
'cause
he's-
some people could watch their lives unfold, knowing that what they're doing is like completely different than what they would normally do, but they have no control over it.
It's always, at least in Blood Gulch, it's always a conflict. Like in most cases, O'Malley takes over and he just kind of just does his thing. But in Doc, there is like a dialogue constantly between them and like a struggle for
Yeah.
Doc's body.
And he seems to fight it more than the rest did.
Yeah.
Because they all seem to enter fugue states, but he was fully aware, is what it seemed like.
Speaking of personal conflicts, let's fucking talk about Carolina.
Oh, yeah?
Ooh,
Yeah.
That was the best.
Yeah.
That was easily the climax of this.
Oh, absolutely.
This whole season. Because it's like, man, who could we get to fist fight Carolina? Nobody can seem to match up to Carolina. There's just not a badass on the planet,
See,
or
honestly,
any planet.
I thought it was going to be a toss-up between being either her herself or Texas.
Right, I kind of thought she might confront her, but she kind of dealt with all that.
Oh, she definitely
Right.
did, which I thought it would be like redundant to have her come back. But I
Right.
figured like, why not? But this one was so much better than it would have been with Tex.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That fight. My favorite scene is when she punches her like crossed arms, and then like the latent explosive force comes in.
Yes.
That was really good.
My favorite part of that was whenever like it goes completely dark and you just see Tucker's sword appear out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then like they suddenly just all appear around the both of them. Like I have friends now.
Yeah, that's such a shonen moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Friendship is magic.
Yeah.
And it worked. I got teary-eyed. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know what I thought was gonna make me teary-eyed, but definitely didn't. I feel like it could have been stronger. The Kai and Dex moment.
Yeah.
That was really good though.
Yeah, it was.
It did feel like a little bit like they had to just be like, all right, we have to.
Yeah,
I
they
feel
rushed
like
Yeah.
I didn't have enough answers in the situation to really anchor emotionally.
Right.
You know, like I didn't know, like, okay, did she start the fire? Was she just not around? Like,
I think she was being negligent. She didn't change the.
Yeah, she said she didn't change the fire alarm.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
didn't change the batteries in
And
the.
she came back and it was like that.
Right.
right. But we get that information, like, towards the end of the exchange whenever, like, the emotional hill is already kind of cresting
Right.
and everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, like,
She'd already mentioned like it's a dark hole to be in there. There's no light like people like it is in the movies. I feel like if she had gone through the if that had been exchanged, like that point, her describing like what it's like to be in this guilt hole would have been after explaining what happened.
Yeah.
It would have been
Yeah.
more.
I feels like that too.
We didn't get enough time of Labyrinth Griff talking shit at her
Yeah.
Yeah.
for us to really get the sense of how Kai actually felt about this.
Right, how she internalizes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we just got like 2 sentences of Labyrinth Griff being an asshole before he gets,
Shot.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah. You're right.
I didn't feel like Kai was at any risk of killing herself in that
Right.
moment.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I do think what added on to it was the fact that immediately, as soon as like Griff realized what was happening, he just started yelling Kai and ran.
Yeah.
So I feel like that definitely helped with it.
Also, yeah, Caboose, completely unfazed. Yeah, we knew this to be the case. He just can't.
He was trying to make me hungry, and it just didn't work. He was trying to make you hear yourself. Oh, good, because I'm really hungry.
Oh man,
It's like me fucking too. Pancakes! He wanted fucking pancakes!
he's unassailable. He's
I wanted to know what was happening, though. Like, it wouldn't have mattered, I know, because it didn't work, but I just want
Right.
to know what he fears the most.
I just imagine it would just be like Caboose walking into a room with a literal mirror, and it's just like he just turns around.
See, I also said I didn't know if it would work because his helmet, like, AIs don't affect him as much.
Right, I think that probably has a lot to do with it. Also, he might have just like walked into a room with another version of himself, and his other version of himself was like trying to insult him,
Right.
but like couldn't quite get at it,
Yeah.
and then they end up like
Being
becoming
friends.
friends. Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like with the helmet, if you need that to explain it, sure. But I think that RVB is one of the last great shows that really understands the rule of funny, and sometimes things just don't make sense. Caboose is just lucky like that because
Yeah.
he's Caboose.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Man, I'm gonna miss when I knew what was going on. That line of
Yeah.
his. Oh,
Gosh. Yeah, he really held his own.
Um,
and he just fucking shows up behind Washington, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, and then there's Wash.
And then there's Wash.
We also didn't do Tucker yet.
Yeah.
Well, Tucker got most of it last episode. They kind of just found him in
Yeah.
this one, and he had
Yeah, and,
already
like,
had his.
His illusion faded, and he was just in the corner, like huddled.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
had a panic attack and passed
Yeah.
out, which is strange because he was supposed to have pushed himself into a situation where he would kill himself, but instead he just freaked out.
Well, I think like somehow Tucker like had some weird logic around it and was just like, this is it. Like he shut down more than pushing himself off the edge,
Right.
Yeah.
which was, I guess, for him normally like that's still development. But
True
Wash.
enough. Yeah, Wash. Why don't we start with Washington?
Counting the bullets, maybe. Counting the bullets for each.
That
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
Counting the grenades he was going to shoot. Oh, man. Poor Washington.
Were they grenades he was putting in his gun?
Yeah, it was a grenade launcher.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man. I feel like they almost did us a favor not hammering that home, like, not pushing the scene of him getting shot again.
Yeah.
But it definitely felt like a dagger whenever he was like, "Can you guys come with me? I don't."
I don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And Carolina was like, "I'm gonna be there so hard there'll be 2 of me."
Oh man, you know whenever they're talking about like who's gonna go, he was like, I'll go get Caboose, all of you can go deal with Carolina, and then he shows up in the background and he's like, man, now I have to go get Carolina.
Oh,
He's such a good friend.
Well, we tried not to end on a down note, but
yeah.
Wait,
Wait, Camp.
Camp. Actually, since we had so much to talk about with Sugar Pine and all of that tonight, next week we're going to be talking all about the RVB Singularity, the full season, doing our full season review. The week after that, we'll hit the first 3 episodes of Camp.
All right.
And break those down for you guys. So, see you guys next week on The First Word. And that's the first word.